Hey y'all, and welcome back to another Photography Friday where we talk about photography tips and techniques in order to become a better photographer and media business owner. In today's episode, we're talking about event photography. Let's get started with the basics. The goal of event photography is to capture a story. Your aim is to tell the story of the event. So make sure that you get event coverage from even before guests arrive, of the environment and the atmosphere of the event, all the way through when everyone is saying their goodbyes. Your goal is to be almost invisible. You need to be less of a distraction and more there just to capture coverage. But do not be a stealthy little slink in the corner, because that's just going to make people nervous. Do say hello, ask people how they're doing, but make small talk even smaller. You want to be approachable, you want to be friendly, and you want to be professional. First, make sure to determine the type of shoot you are going to be doing. If you're going to be shooting a child's birthday versus a corporate event versus a concert versus a wedding, you're going to be shooting it in a different style. But the one thing that rings true for all of your events is to make sure you are clear about the timeline. Get the information from your client about how the event is going to run, the high points, the low points, when everybody's going to be moving around, when they're going to be shift changing. Also from the client, find out what they like and what they don't like, and if they're expecting it to be more of a candid coverage or a posed coverage. Even if it's candid coverage, make sure to get photos of the guest of honor. If it's a bride and groom, make sure to get some posed photos of them together. If it's the band, show up a little bit early and get photos of them warming up. I know that doesn't sound like it's going to be posed, but having no one in the audience allows you to move freely from the event space to get the images that you need. If it is a larger event like a wedding or a concert, make sure to get information from the host of a shot list. Shot lists are available online if you need some clarity on that. But it's important to find out sort of what the tone the client is wanting for the event coverage. If you get there early to the event, you'll be able to take some photos of the environment the event is taking place. Showcasing the items within the event space is very important because your main goal, as I said earlier, is to tell the story. And the accessories of the event, the way the tables look, the way that the gift bags look, the way that the favors, the way that the event space looks without any people in it is part of the story. Next, have your gear prepped the day before, if not 2 days before. This will allow your mind to really think about, okay, did I forget anything? What else should I bring? You're going to overpack a little bit, but make sure the things that you know that you're going to need, like your camera, maybe an extra camera body, an extra lens, all of your extra batteries, and all of your extra cards, because something is going to go wrong and you really just need to be flexible and be prepared for anything. If you are providing extra lighting to the event, showing up early is important because you want to stage your extra off-camera lighting in a way that is not distracting or impedes the event. Your extra lighting is just to bump up the areas where you might need a little bit more light in dark corners of the event space. Also, make sure that you know that you are not guaranteed to be fed or have beverages at the event, so it is important to have some water for you or a second photographer, as well as maybe like a protein bar or some high energy snacks to make sure that you don't fall out. Next to prepare is a contract and invoice. After speaking to your client and finding out what their needs from you for the event are, create a contract tailored to that client. If you're unfamiliar with how to create contracts, there's tons of templates online. Contracts are not that difficult to make. You just really need to make sure that you're covered, your intellectual property, your images are covered, and what sorts of rights you are delivering to your client of the images that you are providing them. Also include anything that you need for insurance purposes, just so you are fully transparent to your client. The timeline for your images as well is important to include in your contract. And then when it comes to your invoice, make sure to be as clear and concise as possible so that this invoice reflects exactly the needs of what you are going to be delivering to your client. Invoice examples are also available online, so just do your research and find some templates to work from. You are a vendor for whatever type of event you are working for, so make sure to act and look professional. Talk to your client about what you need to wear, if you're just matching the event, or you can always just wear black because That's always a winner. You will always just blend in and not be a distraction to the guests of the event. If you approach an event professionally, you are more likely to get hired again, and that is the goal. When pricing out your services, if you have professional experience, like you've been doing this for years and years and years, you of course are going to be more familiar with your pricing points. If this is your first time doing an event, or you're still not kind of clear about how to price your services, think about it this way. How much do you want to get paid an hour, and how much is each individual photo worth? If they are ordering a bundle of images, you can usually bring that down a little bit more for the price per image, but do remember that post-production takes time. So the labor per hour is going to be per hour for the event, and then catalog your image price based on how long per hour it takes you to do post-production and what is that time worth to you. I average anywhere from $5 to $20 per image based on the end use of the images. What I mean by end use of the images, photographers need to be mindful of intellectual property, because that's what we do. We service and provide our intellectual property to a client. So you are selling a service, labor per hour, and you're serving a product, your images, your prints, anything that you're giving to your client from that event. When you are pricing your images, just think about where these images are going to go once they've been delivered to your client. If you're shooting a child's birthday party for an event, those images are probably just going to be put on Facebook, they're going to be put on social media to really celebrate the event. The client may take a few images and print them and put them in the home, but there's no monetary gain that they're going to get from those images after they're delivered. Whereas if you're shooting a concert for a band, they might be using those images for marketing materials, in turn making money off of your images. That's the price point you need to think about of what happens to my images after they're produced. If your client is going to be making additional money off of those images being used in marketing materials, those images need to cost a little bit more to be delivered to your client. In the prices for your services, also take into account your experience, because that costs money for you to get that experience. You need to talk about travel expenses. If you're traveling a great distance, I usually use about 20 to 30 mile radius and then start adding travel costs, because if something were to happen to me and my equipment on the way to my event, I want to make sure that my insurance on my equipment is covered. So when you're doing events, take into account insurance purposes, as well as the cost of your equipment and the cost of your expertise, and where those images are being delivered and how they're going to be used after the event is over. So let's jump back into event photography practices. Does your client want more candid or more professional posed look? Even if there's a more candid type person, you will probably want to get a few individual photos of the guest of honor or people who are being showcased for the event. So get photos of a bride and groom together, posed, individual, more of an intimate area, and a kid's birthday. Make sure to get some pictures of just that kid in his birthday party getup. Make sure to get pictures of the band all together, posed together, that they can use for marketing purposes. And make sure to showcase any front runners of business promotions that are being honored at an event. Next, during the event, you need to be efficient. Have your head on a swivel at all times and make yourself familiar with the timeline. You should know it like the back of your hand. The efficiency is important because you need to be able to move around very sneakily so that you can not be a distraction to the event, but you need to be posed and positioned correctly so that you don't miss a thing. If you know that people are doing speeches at 5 p.m. and we're going to start dinner at 7 p.m., be ready to take photos of those speeches and get crowd reactions to those speeches. If you are taking photos of the first dances at a wedding, make sure that you are positioned in a way that you are not a distraction to the rest of the guests, but you are getting thorough event coverage of those intimate moments. I'll call them premiere moments. Then between the premiere moments, you're going to want to make sure that you are aware of everything that's going on around you, because the premiere moments are going to be the showrunners, whereas the non-premiere moments, or the time between the premiere moments, are going to be those moments of intimacy between two friends that haven't seen each other in a long time at a wedding, or two colleagues comparing notes and building relationships with each other, or a band talking to their groupies and appreciating them through reaching down through the crowd. You want to capture these moments to tell the story of the event. Be ready, keep moving, and don't stay in the same place for a long time. If you do find yourself being static or staying in the same place for a long time, make sure that you are changing your focal length, changing the different depths of field, and changing the aspects within your camera in order to provide different images. You may take some close-up images, you may take some crowd shot images, you may take some images that just give a variety to your client. This will also help you in post-production, taking a variety of images because you'll have more to choose from. Your aim is to cover and tell the story of the event, but you don't want your images to all look the same. So make sure to move around and look for the special moments so that you can give a variety to your client. Don't forget, when you are telling the story of your client, to get the reactions of the crowd or the people who are the guests to the event responding to the showrunners of the event. So when you're taking photos of a concert, make sure to go to the back of the room and take photos of the band and the crowd reacting to the movement and the motion of the band. You want to tell the story. Tell the story. I can't say it enough. You're telling a story. That means the whole story. Even though you are sneaking around, make sure to be friendly and nice. Quick hi, hello, how y'all doing? Appreciate y'all having me, all this kind of stuff, but don't get caught up in small talk. You need to just be quick, efficient. You're there to do a job. You're not there to be a distraction. You're a vendor and not a guest. This attitude will also help you be a lot more approachable for photos. You'll run into guest situations where people will come and be like, oh, will you take a picture of us? Absolutely. Thank you for coming to me. So let's talk about working with your camera. If you are in indoor low light situations, your ISO needs to be bumped up to about 1200 or 1600, and you need to be mindful of your aperture and shutter speed. If you are in highlight areas like an outdoor picnic or outdoor wedding or corporate event that is outside or has a lot of light to offer, your ISO is going to be a lot lower. You'll have a lot more flexibility with your aperture and shutter speed as well. Bring a tripod, bring a tripod, bring a tripod. I can't say it enough. Bring a tripod. Shoot in RAW. That's also something I cannot say enough. Shoot in RAW. Look at my last video, Outdoor Photography, if you want a brief description of shooting in RAW, or you can just wait for our video coming up in a couple weeks. We're talking about nothing but RAW. But do not shoot in just JPEG. Do not shoot in small format. Shoot in mid to large format. That's why you bring your extra cards, because this will make post-production and culling the images so much easier. You will have a lot more accessibility to making the manipulations and the changes in your images that you will need. Now, to culling your images and choosing the winners. For every 100 photos you take, you're probably going to have 10 winners, if that tells you anything. So say you're shooting a wedding and you have 2,000 images, but your client is only promised 200 to 500 images. If you're a wedding photographer that just gives them everything, awesome. You are very, very kind. But you need to narrow down so that you're not giving them 500 terrible images and only 100 of them are really good. I would rather you give me 300 really, really good images and not deliver garbage to me or redundant images to me. So when you're culling down your images, this is what I would suggest. Based on my workflow, this is how I do it. I know in Bridge and Lightroom there is some folder cataloging that you can use, and I'd suggest to use them if you're familiar with them. From those original folders, I will then pick out about twice what I have promised my client that I would deliver. I'll pick out and put them into a to be adjusted folder. Once they've been in that to be adjusted folder, I will take them into Bridge or Lightroom and designate into stars. The stars meaning I will rank them, okay, 0 stars, I really don't like this image. 3 stars, this image is okay. 5 stars, this one's a winner and it needs to be in the portfolio. Once you have designated those images, then take those images that reach a 5 or a 3 star and move them into a separate folder, and then you can bring your editing. If you're shooting in RAW, this should be really, really easy to make the necessary minor adjustments so that you can provide proofs to your client. By running actions in Photoshop, you'll be able to watermark quickly and remove watermarks quickly, so that you can provide images to your client as proofs. Then when they select the ones that they want, bring them back, finish editing, remove the watermarks, and deliver them to your client. If you have a bunch of images from a big, huge speech that somebody did at the event, make sure that you give them a variety, maybe different perspectives, different angles, different levels of framing, so that they have something to choose from. Let's talk turnaround time of delivery. If you are shooting a smaller event like less than 30 people, you should have those images back to your client for proofs within 3 or 4 days, and then you should have final images between 7 and 10 days delivered to your client. You don't want to go over 14 days or 2 full weeks because your client is not going to appreciate that. All of this information should be included in your invoice and your contract as well, but just provide the information of what they can expect for delivery time for images. If you are shooting an event that is 30 to 75 people, those images should be provided to them within 30 days with proofs and images to choose from if you're giving your client that option within a week to 2 weeks. If you're shooting an event of 75 to even 200 people, I would suggest second photographer. Have one just so you'll have accessibility to different perspectives and different angles, and you'll have somebody's other creative mind working and covering where you may not be able to. Your proofs or even just a preview of the event should be delivered within 7 days. You can provide images, maybe 15 to 20 images to kind of just tease their taste buds for the event, with your final proofs for them to choose within 30 days, and then final prints 2 to 3 months down the road. Like I said, whatever you are comfortable with, however quick you are with post-production, try to get these images to them as soon as possible because they're as eager to get them as you are as eager to deliver them. If you are in an instance where your images are needed now, or when your guests are expecting these images to be delivered immediately, such as a marathon or a race event, or even just like a photo booth, make sure that you are capable of delivering that service. If you aren't able to deliver printed product to your customers at the time of the event, forward your information to a website or to a secure Google Drive that they can pull those images off, request itemized images, and then you can deliver them via Dropbox or just straight from your website for purchase. I do hope that this video was helpful on some tips and techniques for shooting event photography. Make sure to tune in next week when we talk about small business media practices if you're just starting off with your new small media business. Please make sure to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded every Friday. Every Friday, y'all. Every Friday. Thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Again, I'm Jane Corley with Pick Visions, Media Arts and Photography. See you later, guys.